I believe that there's a real need for people to connect. And what I mean by this is that instead of a clash of civilizations mentality, where there's inherent divisions between people that spread people apart and create conflict, I think the opposite is true. And that there's something that binds us all together, gets us together, makes us work together, collaborate, and produce amazing things that would have been impossible if we were alone. But it's not easy. If you just look at the last 10 years, many things have happened that kind of confirm the clash of civilizations. First, you had the collapse of the peace process, you had 9/11, we had the war in Afghanistan, the war in terror, the war in Iraq, the war in Lebanon, the war in Gaza. You've had things like Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo, indefinite detentions, extraordinary renditions, sectarian divisions, polarization, radicalization. After the underwear bomber in 2009, I was just about ready to throw in the towel and believe in the clash of civilizations myself. But then something amazing happened, and something amazing happened right here in Somerville. And what happened was that amid all this chaos and conflict, a very small opening opened, and that opportunity gave us, as Somervillians, a chance to connect with a community that was 4,000 miles away. And the way this opening happened, that was so improbable and serendipitous, and actually kind of absurd, as you'll find out later, and the way it grew and connected so many people really made me believe that there is a need for cultures to connect. So this amazing story starts with this lovely woman. Her name is Samira. She's a school teacher from a small town in the south of Morocco called Tiznit. And she came to Boston in 2006 to do one of her training programs. She learned how to implement civic engagement projects that connected her community to her classroom. And that's exactly what she did when she went back to Morocco. She started bringing hundreds of her kids into her community to do service learning projects. And she did such a great job that the local media picked up on this. And this is kind of like the improbable part. It just happened to be an election year in Morocco, and the future mayor of Tiznit happened to be sitting at his home watching TV, and he saw her on TV. And he thought she was just fantastic, and he actually asked her to run on the same ticket as him. And Samira had no experience politically at all, but she joined, and she was actually elected and won her district. One of the first things Samira did as an elected official was to try to get Tiznit more involved in the international community. So to do this, she called me, and she had this great idea to create a sister cities relationship between Tiznit and Somerville, and I thought it was a great idea too. And for those of you that don't know, you need two things to start a sister cities relationship. The first is a letter from your mayor inviting the other city to get together, and the second thing is you need some kind of cultural icon or something that symbolizes your city that you give as a small cultural gift to start off this whole process. So the first part was easy. We went down to Mayor Joe's office, and he was really supportive. He wrote the letter right away. And the second part was much more difficult. After all, like, what represents us as Somervillians? We thought of all these different things. We're like, oh, the first American flag was invented here in Somerville. But it didn't seem really nice to bring a flag over to a different country. And then we thought of, maybe like baked beans? But it's Boston baked beans. It's not Somerville baked beans, so forget that. And then we thought of things like maybe a gift having to do with lobsters or clam chowder, but Somerville's landlocked, so that wouldn't work. So we just started panicking, and time kept ticking by, and a day before we left for Morocco, I don't know whether it's inspiration or desperation, but we're like, oh, there's a marshmallow dessert condiment invented right here in Somerville. That'll be perfect. And I really didn't think about it that much more. And I went over to store 24, and I picked up a jar of fluff. And I threw it in my luggage. I went over to Tiznit, and I met with the mayor there. And I gave him the letter. And he seemed somewhat confused by the fluff, but he liked that also. And that's how the Somerville Tiznit Sister Cities relationship was born. And from there, we had a signing ceremony that was on Moroccan national TV. And then we started having delegations of all sorts of people going back and forth. We had a group of Somervillians going over to Tiznit. We had Tiznitis coming over to Somerville. And we had another group of Somervillians going over to Tiznit. And what was amazing about these exchanges was that it wasn't just like cultural tourism. It wasn't just people going over and looking at things. We really got a lot of things done. We worked together. This is a group at a water project in Tiznit. And we created working groups to really try to improve both communities. We had artists that were inspired by what they saw, and they produced some beautiful works of art. And these works of art were placed in the Brick Bottom Art Gallery. We had musicians that were inspired by what they heard, and they went back to Boston and they played this music all over Boston, and actually he went around America. Most importantly, we had both teachers and students that were really touched by this exchange. This is in Somerville, and this is in Tiznit. And just from this very small opportunity, the connections took a life of its own. Not only did people connect, they expanded these connections, and it kept growing to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. In the narrative of the Clash of Civilizations, what happened here in Somerville may seem like an anomaly, and it may seem even like an impossibility, but I'm telling you that it's not improbable at all. Us at the University of the Middle East Project, we've run 37 different programs that involved either Middle Eastern and North African participants coming here to America, or sending Americans to places like Jordan or Egypt or Morocco or Lebanon, and each time the story is exactly the same. It's always the same as it is in Somerville and Tiznit. I want to conclude by reiterating what I started, and that there is a real need for all of us to connect from different cultures. And if given the opportunity, even the smallest opportunity, even an opportunity created by a marshmallow dessert convent, people grab at that opportunity, connect, and achieve wonderful things. So thank you very much.